Let's check out what the dailies are saying. I'm going to be starting with the Daily Graphic. So on the front page of the Daily Graphic, review new taxes. GPCC urges government. And presidents present SONA today. Government to set up FinTech Innovation Fund, and that's by the Vice President, Dr. Baumia. Jospon Group to build waste treatment plants in Lagos. That's good.
Okay.
Teacher unions make proposals for parties' manifestos. Right. So, what do you think about the new taxes?
You know, the country is already burdened.
Right.
This is just the feeling that I have. The country is already burdened. And so I think it's important for us to be circumspect as government,
Right.
you know, in terms of loading on Ghanaians
Right.
more taxes.
Exactly.
That for me, that's just an issue that we need to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's what the GPCC is saying.
Okay.
Like on the first paragraph of this story, we have the Ghanaian Pentecostal and Charismatic Council has called on the government to take a second look at the introduction of new taxes and explore alternative revenue mobilization avenues. And I really think everybody feels the same way, not just the GPCC, because I've like talking to a lot of business owners, a lot of people are crying. And small businesses are shutting down every day. And people that we expect to come into the country and invest just come and want to go back.
Well, the government is continuing down its path because, you know, it feels that they are doing what was going to work. So, you know, we'll see what happens, right? The Ghanaian Times has these headlines here. It says, Jospon breaks into Africa, signs landmark deal to build waste management plants in Lagos State, Nigeria. Okay, kudos to Jospon. The bigger the business titans we can build, the better it is, you know. I just want us to rationalize things so that the country and our countries benefit from you know these large conglomerates that we're building.
And you know, I think it's basically also the right time to enter Lagos, because Lagos just started to ban a lot of plastic use and you know
the single-use plastics,
the single-use plastic, the
the
xylophones and all that. So I think it's the right time. And also one thing I really admire about them, I really think that they would make it. I really think they will make it and prosper, because there are some businesses in Ghana that have actually gone there to set up some drink companies that we know, popular drink companies that we go there, that have actually gone out there to, you know, blow up massively. And that's it.
Well, we have some other headlines here. Commit to free SHS TVET program review in manifestos. Not end to other teacher unions' demand from political parties. We have VEEP task fintech firms to develop innovative payment solutions for Africa. And Atachia urges calm over SML GRA revenue assurance contract.
Wow, okay, on the front page of the Chronicle, Goldfields expend 477k Ghana cedis on health and security agencies. Akufo-Addo delivers penultimate SONA today, and Iyoko strips lady naked, leaves only bra and pant on, caught told.
That story is very unfortunate. I mean, I read bits of it earlier, and in the court, the lawyer was actually explaining that during investigations, you know, a lady who was being questioned as being part of the investigation was actually stripped down to her bra and panties, you know, and the former Iyoko boss was the one who was responsible for that. You know, and it's a very unfortunate thing that happened. But I think we need to, some of these things, you know, we shouldn't just leave them to be.
Exactly.
You know, we need to drill down and deal with it so that people learn lessons that you don't go down the road like that, you know, the next time.
True. Anyway, scandal soaked Mahama in bad news. And lastly, we have here the scripture of the day coming from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I guess...
Is that about Esona?
Yes, today. The great plans the Lord has for us.
Daily Guide has these headlines. It says governments to set up fintech fund. Hajj gate crushers in trouble. MPs impressed with SML as data center. Mahama's 24-hour economy empty slogan. Nana speaks to MPs today amidst tight security. That's what the Daily Guide has for us this morning.
All right, so my last paper here is the New Finder. President Akufo-Addo delivers last and final SONA today. Upon Nkrumah directs opening of real estate agency council office by April. ICGC's 40-year journey. Pastor Mensah Otabill's testament to faith and inspiration. FinTech Innovation Fund coming to give startups greater investor visibility, and that's by Vice President Dr. Baumia. And I think this FinTech Innovation Fund is actually very important because there are a lot of startups that are, focused on fintechs. But if you speak to them and ask them, okay, so what is the problem exactly?
Yeah.
You would realize that sometimes it's not just about the fund, it's also about the compliance of the BOG, the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
And I think if this is coming, the FinTech Innovation Fund is coming, it's actually going to help them work together with the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
Because right now it's going to be put out there that this is official.
Okay.
This is official. The government is supporting this and helping this startup. Because like the person I spoke to on Friday, he's tried and tried. Great idea.
To get funding.
Great idea,
Yeah.
but he never reaches anywhere.
Yeah.
It has to do with funding, and it also has to do with the compliances of the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah.
It's so much.
All right. Punch has these headlines. It says, Takwa Nsoyem, NDC parliamentary candidate, grateful to all. Adongo two fingers gives more. Hey, I see. Okay. Well, you see the headline there. I don't know if you can see the headline on that paper, but yeah, it's there. And 6 regions exist only in name, lack of development, unfortunate. And this headline actually has been around in the last couple of days as well. And a Ejura community gets 50 million Ghana City water supply project. Okay, so that's what we have for the Punch. We have some online stories.
Yes, so let's head to citynewsroom.com. If you have your phones or your tablets or even your computers, you can actually join us as we go through the headlines. And the first one we have here, will export nurses to reduce unemployment, and that is by Mahama. Top trending stories, allowing Salt FM to operate tantamount to illegality, and that's by the NCA. Bokum, Guma FM owner refutes NCA's claim on inflammatory broadcast. Locally assembled vehicles to take center stage during 2024 Heritage Caravan, and we can see it on our screens right there. Legalize our operations or will boycott 2024 elections, and that's by the Okada Riders.
Yeah, I want to just quickly read this story here. We will export nurses to reduce unemployment. It's an interesting idea, but let's see what the story says. The flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, has proposed addressing unemployment among health workers, particularly nurses, by exporting some to other countries. Now, Mahama suggests that deploying nurses abroad will be a more beneficial option than leaving them unemployed in Ghana. During his tour of the Savannah region, Mahama addressed student nurses, emphasizing the need for nurses to be gainfully employed after completing their education. To implement his strategy, he recommended the establishment of a unit at the Ministry of Employment dedicated to recruiting nurses meeting the required standards for export. We want to increase the production of health workers and nurses, and we will employ them to work for us as many as we can, but at the same time, we will sign agreements with other countries where we can post our nurses to go and work on fixed contracts. So under the Ministry of Employment, we will have a unit that can recruit nurses and make sure that they are of the standard that can work in international hospitals. Okay, there's a number of issues I have with this story. Let me start from the very bottom, the last statement. So under the Ministry of Employment, we will have a unit that can recruit nurses and make sure that they are of the standard that can work in international hospitals. Okay, let's just pause for a moment to think about this statement. A unit will be created to make sure that the nurses who have graduated, they've graduated and passed out, and they are ready to be employed. They will be, what's the word he used? They will make sure that they are of the standard.
Of the standard. Yeah.
That can work in international hospitals. This is, you know, it sounds great, but it's a very unfortunate statement. Because what you're saying, Mr. Mahama, what you're saying is that we, the rest of us, the nurses that are going to work in Ghana, they can be of the Ghanaian standard.
Yeah.
But you will create a special unit that will ramp up their skills so that they can go and work internationally. Okay, that's one problem. Let's look at it. Why not open up the economy so that the country has more money and can employ these unemployed nurses right here? Because when you are sending them abroad, it's not as if we have enough nurses in Ghana supplying all the clinics as it is. So the unemployed nurses, the true problem is that the economy and the size of the economy is too small. We need to open up the economy, build structures and systems in place so that we can actually soak up the people that are graduating. Or, Chris, what I'm saying, does it not make sense?
I actually agree with you. And if you look at this, you can actually punch different holes.
Yeah, and there's some even I haven't even mentioned.
Exactly.
For example, the brain drain. We have been talking about brain drain. You are now saying that let's export more people who have been trained to go abroad, to go and supply other people's economies. Because they have built their economy so that they can import educated,
nurses,
qualified nurses from Ghana. We don't see any problem with it. Sometimes I think the politics, you know, it allows us to say a lot of fantastic things that sound amazing. Because you're standing in front of nurses. So, of course, if you're going to nurses in the Savannah region and you're telling them that you will go to Abrochi, of course they'll be excited.
Of course.
It's good for the political trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're doing your campaign, it's good for it. It's such a terrible idea, in my opinion.
No, it's actually a very terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea.
At this point, if you go on, if you even go online on social media since last week, and there has been conversations of negligence in the medical field. You understand?
International standards training.
And because of those conversations, we are expected that we need better quality of nurses and doctors or medical personnel in the hospitals. But you saying right now that we are going to sieve out of them and take the ones that we need
and
here.
then make sure that they're of the right standard.
You understand?
To work
So
in international
and it almost sounds like, we have the money, and if we're sick, we can just fly out. And the rest of us that don't have the money,
take it like that.
you manage the ones here.
Manage yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, you know what? Sports review is next. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. And now on the sporting front, we have the 2023 African Games. The Ghana's under-20s and the 20 women's football team, the Black Princesses, have assembled in Cape Coast to begin campaign ahead of the 13th African Games. Now, Hazaka's ladies striker Abdullahi Mukarama and Stella Nyameche have been called to camp ahead of preparations towards the tournament. Now, coach Yusuf Basigi's side will kick off their campaign against Ethiopia on March 9th at the Cape Coast Sports Stadium before playing against Tanzania and Uganda in the other Group A matches. Now, the 13th African Games is scheduled to take place from the 8th of March to the 23rd of March 2024. Now, some Premier League on Citi news. Ghana's Mohamed Kudus played 94 minutes and created an assist for Jared Bowen as West Ham beat Brentford 4-2 last night in the last match of week 26 of the Premier League. Now, Bowen found a net in the 5th, 7th and 63rd minutes, while Emerson added a 4th in the 69th minute to help West Ham pick up 3 vital points after a run of no wins in their last 5 matches. Now the result lifts West Ham to 8th, while Brentford are on 16th on the league log, ahead of the next round of fixtures coming this coming weekend. All right, that's where we end sports review for the morning.